All right, everybody, welcome back to a new year, a new decade. It's 2020.
It's 2020.
The first What's Poppin' episode of the decade. Now, I'm Josh Ho. I'm here with Sam Sobczak, Timothy Pack, and today we're here to talk about a little movie called 1917, directed by Sam Mendes. Now, this is a World War I movie, which we don't see very often.
No.
And it's getting a considerable amount of Oscar buzz. We're here to talk about it. We saw it last night, which was opening night. And what's everyone's initial thoughts?
Well, my initial thought, I don't want to go into my deep thoughts about it too soon, but the trailer overhyped it, in my opinion. It was a good movie, beautiful cinematography, but the trailer overhyped the movie for me.
I agree. Like, the trailer, it had some good clips, which were literally like the highlights of the whole movie, like the best parts.
Definitely.
But other than that, I was kind of left with questions that were unanswered.
Definitely. We'll get into spoilers later, so if you haven't seen the movie, make sure to click off when the spoiler section starts. But yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I thought it was average to above average. I think the standout was Roger Deakins' cinematography. Like, there were shots that were just stunning and just beautiful. And I feel like we didn't see it in IMAX or Dolby. I feel like if we saw it on that large of a screen with that kind of sound,
Oh, definitely.
it would have made it a lot more immersive.
Exactly. It was a beautifully shot movie. It felt like you were inside
Yeah.
with the people inside the movie and the actors and rest of the cast. It was picture perfect.
And for those who don't know, the story was based off of the director Sam Mendes. His grandfather was fought in World War I, so the script was based partly from the stories that his grandpa would tell him. Specifically, he used to tell him a story about a messenger going to deliver a message, which is the main theme of the movie. But from that premise, he explored it. And so what we're seeing in the movie isn't actually what happened. It's just kind of his imaginative retelling of a story that he was told as a kid. Now that we're talking about the script, what did you think of like the story? Set aside the technical aspects, just the story and the script. What did you think?
So, to be fully honest with you, there wasn't really much script. There was not many pages of actual script writing that people actually spoke. A lot of it was with body language and actions happening outside of it. It's just lots of scenes of one of the characters running around and being shot at or whatever, or talking to someone that's not even in English. But it was a fun story to watch, but really I think it could have gone a little bit more in depth and have more of an actual character development behind it and more of something to listen to, not just watch. Because, like, I don't know how much of this movie is actually true, like, to a correct event, or of, like, a correlation of many stories put together to make one. Because if it's many stories, you could have had some little more imagination with it and turned it more into, like, historical fiction and have more, like, of actual story, not just actions and stuff happening. But that's my opinion. But still, I think it was good, but I think it could have definitely had a lot more improvement.
I think that they did a good job emphasizing that they didn't want to, like, put their, like, creativity into the movie. Like you said, like, put a fiction aspect to it. I think they kept it pretty real, you know? Like, said what was been told to his son.
Mm-hmm.
And the times when it was, like, no dialogue, when people weren't really talking, I think that emphasizes the fact that, like, in war, like, people don't really want to talk.
Yeah, definitely.
But there were some scenes when, like, they would crack jokes.
Yeah.
But it didn't really fit with, like, the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you in that it felt like pretty realistic, like this is what war is. And I think part of what aided that is the way the film was shot and how it's filmed as one continuous take.
Oh, yeah.
I remember, Sam, you're sitting next to me, and like you turn to me every time you're like, there's a cut there. Because they did a good job of not showing you where the cut is. You have to find it yourself because it looks seamless. It seems like you're following the actors in real time.
But even the cuts that I was pointing out to you, I'm not even sure if those were cuts or not. Those are just times that I was assuming there would be a cut because, like, a character or some random person walked in front of the camera and it was black for enough time to have a quick little cut there. Or there was an explosion and so it went black or went red or orange or whatever, and so there's enough time to put a cut. So those times, we still don't know how many cuts there was. I'm sure we'll find on the internet sometime how many cuts there were, but they were hard to find. So I was just kind of using what are I would think they would be.
Definitely. Do you guys think that choice to shoot it like that, did you see it as like a gimmick? Like, oh, that's kind of cool they did that, but do you think it helped the story?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it brought like suspense. Like when I don't know, when they were like walking around in no man's land, that's when it was like I don't know what they used. It was like close to the ground.
Yeah.
That was sick.
Yeah, so I looked up a behind-the-scenes video last night of how they filmed it. And that entire No Man's Land pretty much was one continuous shot for the most part. They had wires set up above them, and so the camera would go up and down on the wires. It's like a fly cam, pretty much like what they use for like football stadiums. Similar to that concept, but it was pretty much one continuous shot that could be panned in front of them, next to them, above them, below them, however that was. Or when they went down to that crater into that water, that was cool. How
That
they
was
did
really
that.
cool.
I mean, there was no place to put a cut there, so it had the camera had to roll over that mound and go down, and that was cool. So awesome camera work, I'll tell you that much.
And now, now that we've kind of talked, all we could really talk about without going into spoilers, I'd like to wrap up the non-spoiler part of the podcast. And for the viewers at home, the movie is rated R. I know, Tim, you said like it didn't really feel rated R.
Yeah, it didn't
what
really feel
what
rated
age
R.
do you think would be appropriate to see this movie?
Well, I watched Band of Brothers when I was 10 years old, and that's a pretty graphic and pretty intense movie. I was fine with it, but for the world nowadays, I'd probably say it's probably a PG-13. There's a couple swear words, there's dead bodies, there's some blood, but it's really not that bad in my opinion. I think it probably legally has to be a rated R according to like the movie world, but in reality, it's probably a PG-13 movie.
Mm-hmm. And it's like a thing that happened. Like it's not made up.
No, that's like what real life was.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in your history classes, you're learning about all these gruesome wars and deaths and all that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like telling you how it is.
It's just like a segment of it.
Yeah.
Definitely. So those of you at home, I'd say like we're in consensus like PG-13-ish would be okay for you to see it.
Yeah.
And now we're going to transition into our spoiler section of the podcast. We'll talk about all that goes on, and we just have more freedom there. So if you haven't seen the movie or you're interested in seeing the movie without having it spoiled, turn off the podcast now. If you've seen it already, come back, and we're going to dive into the spoilers. So to start off with the spoilers, I just want to gauge the room. What was everyone's favorite character in the movie?
You want to go first?
I can go first. My favorite character probably has to be that lieutenant that was at the end of the line in the first probably first 15-20 minutes of the movie, or he's just kind of like joking around like you're gonna get screwed up if something happens to you, throw the flare gun back. And so I think let's look right here. I think it's Lieutenant Gordon.
Lieutenant Gordon.
I think that's him. Or Lieutenant Leslie. One of those.
There are a lot of lieutenants.
Yeah,
like,
there are a lot of
as he's
lieutenants.
going down the line.
He just
like,
kept talking to another
yeah.
lieutenant and another
Yeah.
lieutenant. It's probably Lieutenant Leslie, actually, because that's kind of... Because I have my chronological order. So it's probably Lieutenant Leslie. He's just kind of he cracks some jokes, kind of lightens the mood, especially in a time of war at that time. He's probably my favorite character because I like laughing.
Yeah, my favorite character in this probably was Will, because he's the main character. And I think they chose a really good actor to portray, like, a person in war. Because, to be honest, he looks like he's seen some things. Like,
He looked
from the
dead.
start, I was like, they're not even in the trenches right now, and he looks so dead. Oh
Yeah,
my
he's like
gosh.
white and...
Yeah. And when he would show emotion, like, you could tell. I think they
I
did a good
definitely
job.
think Will Schofield, portrayed by George McKay, I think he did a very good job of like carrying all the emotional weight. Because let's just throw a spoiler out there: his partner, Lance Corporal Blake, gets killed like 30% of the way into the movie.
Not even
Not even,
30%.
it was like
30%.
It was like
10%.
Way too early in the movie.
It was
It's
way
such
too
a
fast.
it's such a lame death. He gets stabbed by a German pilot that just crashed his airplane, and while Will Schofield is drinking some milk,
He needs some
because
milk.
he hasn't had milk in years because he's been on the line, he's been in the war, and he just hears, and then his friend's just over there getting stabbed by a German pilot that just crash
Yeah,
landed.
they saved the German pilot because he crashed after a dogfight from 2 Americans against the German. And these 2 guys saved him because he's burning in a plane. and he takes the German out, and then they tell Will to go get some water. He turns around, and you just hear someone dying.
And at first I thought, cause Schofield's like, yo, we're gonna get you to like the hospital, the nearest thing. I thought he was just gonna lug him on his back and carry him.
Yeah.
But then
he's too heavy.
He's too heavy, and he's like, I can't get up. I gotta stay on the ground.
It was such a slow death.
Yeah.
From that's Dean Chapman, who played Lance Corporal Blake. It was just a slow death, and he's just like crying and saying, I can't get up. And then in that situation, you gotta get up and just keep walking.
Exactly.
He just gave up and died.
And he's like, am I dying? And
Yeah.
then he's like, I think so. It was emotional, I guess, when he's like taking off the dog tag.
Yeah.
The family was with the he's like, right to my mother.
Yeah.
It was sad, but because they killed him off so early, I didn't really connect to the character.
Exactly.
Even at the theater, there was a person we didn't really know sitting next to us.
We'll call him Kevin.
We'll call him Kevin. And the moment he died, he just started laughing. I was like,
He was like, shoot,
Yeah.
they killed him way too early, man.
they killed him way too fast.
I'd like to dedicate a little segment to Kevin here. Let's just talk about Kevin.
Yeah.
Because when it was a packed theater, and we got in one of those side corner booths, and there was 3 of us.
Yeah, because we were expecting who would buy one seat to
The
sit
booth fits
next.
4.
Yeah,
And if you're seeing the movie by yourself, like,
that's kind of a random thing to do.
it is. So we were kind of nervous, like, who we're going to sit
Yeah.
next to. Then this man Kevin pulls up. The chillest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
Love that man. And Sam, you said he was wearing headphones the
Yeah,
whole time?
Yeah, he
yeah,
was
the,
wearing
the
headphones.
man was wearing like headphones the whole time. I don't know if he was playing on his phone or listening to music, but he had his headphones in the entire time.
And
But-
whenever the movie theater got like dead quiet,
Silent.
he would reach for his popcorn and make so much noise.
Which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make the most
Like
noise
when
when
it's like
there's noise.
exploding.
Exactly.
And stuff, and gunfires.
It's not like it was a quiet movie. It was a loud
Yeah,
movie.
it was loud.
Why not just reach for your popcorn during one of those times? Why
There
wait
were
for-
not too many quiet points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he reached for his Twizzlers, throws the bag on the table. The man felt like he was in his own living room.
But he was commentating the entire movie.
Yeah, he was.
He was just talking about whatever he was seeing during the entire movie, just randomly.
I think that added to my experience on my
Oh,
first rated R
definitely,
movie.
definitely.
First rated R movie at a movie theater.
Oh, I'd have to say the same,
Definitely.
actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Is it really?
You know, I didn't start seeing very many movies till this year and the last year. I went like a long time without going to the movie theater.
Well, boys, welcome to the club. We're glad you're here. Let's transition into our next segment, which is our favorite scenes in the movie. There are a lot of, like, I guess you could say, since it's shot in one shot, the whole movie is one big scene.
Yeah.
But what's like a segment of the movie that you were like really invested in?
You want to go to?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think they were in France since she was speaking French, right? That town where it was just destroyed by the Germans. I think when he went up to the sniper tower and then got knocked out, and when he woke up and it was dark, right? I think when he went out and the lights were flashing, I think that scene was sick.
That was the lighting. They're just like flares shooting.
Yeah,
into
flares
the sky.
shooting
that
up.
was
Buildings
cool.
are on fire, and he's just avoiding gunfire.
Because
Yeah.
whenever the flares went up, it would give vision to whoever's
Moving.
Yeah. And he would have to go into darkness to hide or stay still or like just get on the floor. And I think that was like a really thrilling moment of the movie.
I'm kind of stuck between two. I'll describe the first one better because it's more of my favorite, but definitely the first part of the movie when they're inside the
The trench.
British French whatever trenches.
Yeah.
Because I've done research on like World War I, and those trenches were pristine. They were like so close to what they actually looked like and what pictures resembled of what they actually look like, and it was a beautiful long scene of them walking through the trenches, and we could see what trench life was during World War I for that time, and like those trenches they weren't even torn up how real trenches were in World War I. There wasn't too much mud or whatever, but it was so cool to see all that. I think that was probably one of my favorites. My next favorite would be the when he gets to the battalion he's been looking for, and he's just sitting in the forest listening to the Scottish guy singing. I don't know the name of the song, but it was definitely a moving point for me because all these soldiers are just sitting there watching this guy sing. Just one guy sing, no instruments, nothing. He's just singing. And they know that they're going to go jump over into no man's land and die. They know they're probably going to die. I mean, they don't because Schofield saves them. Yeah. But that song was definitely kind of moving.
The song was used in part in the trailer. Yeah. And it was like about a guy going to see his brother, which is even sadder given the context that Lance Corporal Blake wasn't able to see his brother.
Yeah.
One scene I want to talk about is, I think this is what gave us the biggest jump, was when they're in like the German like trenches. In the German trenches, they go into like their barracks and they're looking for the food, and there's this rat. And they're like, "What's the rat doing here?"
Yeah, what's in the bag?
Yeah, what's in the bag?
Scavenging what's left from the
There's
German
like some dog food in there.
But like, and they were like doing that because the Germans had a much better food supply, better,
they
did. But they had much more funding for their military. That's why their trenches had concrete, not just dirt. And so like they're amazed to see actual bunks and like actual food.
Yeah.
And so like back to you, Josh. I just want to say that.
With that money, they can also afford these insane traps. So they see this tripwire, and they're like, don't step on the tripwire. And then, of course, the rat triggers it, and then, boom, explosion.
I jumped out of my seat so
the
far.
The whole crowd was like...
We all moved at the same time.
Like, it was so unexpected. I thought, like, they would just go over it and, like, at least knock a different trap. But nope, a rat just falls from the ceiling, runs into the tripwire, boom.
And I'm going to be honest, I thought Schofield was dead.
At least the rat died.
Because I assumed one of the two guys was going to die.
Yeah.
They weren't going to make it till the end. I thought Schofield was the dead one in there. But then, no, Blake saves him out of the rubble. He's like, I can't see. There's so much dust in his eyes.
Yeah.
And a comparison I want to make, when they're trying to go out the light, out the tunnel, see, like, it reminded me a lot of Indiana Jones. When the boulder comes.
Yeah.
And he's, like, trying to escape it. So I thought that was really cool.
That was a cool scene. Yeah. And then they come to see all the German artillery and how much stuff they actually...
And they destroyed all their weapons.
Yeah, so
and
the
they
Americans...
killed all the animals.
Yeah.
The cows.
So the Americans couldn't get any of that, or whoever.
The Allies.
I thought that the movie was, now that we're talking about the scenes, and you bring up good points because you know a lot about war, it was very accurate. I think it was a smart script in how you felt like you were there. All the details lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's like history brought to life. Now, I want to talk about the awards potential of this because at the Golden Globes, Sam Mendes won Best Director. The movie won Best Drama. Do you agree with that? I don't know how many movies you've seen this year. Do you agree with it winning essentially Best Picture?
Best Picture? I'd say, I don't know. I don't think it deserves Best Picture.
I would not say Best Picture. Best cinematography, definitely.
Hands down.
Like,
this is the best picture quality movie I have ever seen, I'd have to say. It was just awesome. The explosions, the gunshots, the mud. The mud was like so like you can make mud look fake or whatever and not do a good job with it. But it was so awesome. The dead bodies were great too, and how they're like decomposed and bones. Also, it was just
Can we talk about maybe the most disgusting part of the movie is like when they're in
the crater.
The crater. He slips in the crater. His hand goes into the stomach.
No, but
of
his
the
hand
body.
had a cut too.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
And then I was like, oh, he's gonna
Disgusting.
die.
And
from
the
that.
sound, like when he puts his hand in there, you hear like all the mush and all that. It felt so gritty.
Yeah. Or even when he's in the river and has to climb on all those bodies.
Bodies.
Yeah, but those bodies have been there for a long time.
That's why you can see like their bodies were like affected by the water. Too.
Exactly. It probably smelled awful.
Yeah.
And at that point, he's just floated down the entire river. He lost everything he had on his back. He
fell down the waterfall for crying out.
Yeah, twice. He jumped.
Yeah.
He jumped into it to get in there, and then he fell off another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at Josh. I was like, waterfall. And he fell into the waterfall.
And of course he survives because he's got a.
Yeah, there's no chance if you're in a river. There's no chance there's not a waterfall in a movie.
Of course. And do you think it deserved any acting? Now, I thought the acting, it was like pretty good, but there was no one performance where I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
I mean, George McKay did a great job with his facial expressions and his body language without having to talk very much. Because even in like the end scene, he probably had a couple pages of script when he's talking to the
brother,
the colonel,
Yeah.
or even the colonel. I mean the brother, yeah. But still, there was not much talking in the movie. It was just all action and facial expressions and emotions. And when he's sitting in the end in the field and laying on a log, just looking at pictures and stuff like that, his face tells 1,000 words
Yeah.
of what he just went through over the past day or whatever.
It was like a day or two.
Day
Day
and
or
a
two.
half, something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
And as we wrap up here, I just want to gauge, out of 10, we always do out of 10, what would you give the movie?
Great movie, but I'd have to give it probably a 6 or 6.5.
Yeah, I'd say 6.5 or 7.
In terms of ratings, I think I'd agree with you. I'm hovering between that 6 and 7 range, probably settling around a 6.5. I think it's a marvelous technical achievement. The fact that a movie like this was made, it's kind of miraculous. Although the story might not be too personal or speak too deeply, it's a great retelling of what war is, and I think for that it deserves a pretty good rating.
And so us talking